For the first time ever, the NFL has sponsored a LGBTQ pride event. The Rams and the Chargers both reached out to sponsor the second annual Venice Pride celebration of diversity. The league has been around for a long time. The Chargers are not a new team. The Rams are not a new team. But both are fighting for new fan bases.
Exactly.
I know I'm cynical, but that's my problem. They're fighting for fans, and that's why they're doing it. They're not doing it just because.
I think it has everything to do with the new city that they're both in.
Fighting for fans.
Yeah.
The Rams were trying to do that before the Chargers showed up.
No, I mean, as I kind of alluded to in my confirmation bias, they did step out and, they drafted all those super late, Michael Sams. So they had an opportunity then, but they kind of, like I said, I think he kind of put the kibosh on that.
See,
by not
I don't agree with you because I watched his games, his preseason games, and I feel like he outplayed people they kept at his position. Like if you watch the games, he was he was a baller.
I agree with that because he had a couple sacks during the preseason.
Yeah, they kept people who didn't have sacks.
Yeah, so all I know is like O said, and like my confirmation bias. Fighting for every fan they possibly can get.
It's a smart move. I mean, if you're coming out here to L.A., they call us Fairy Town anyway. So,
if you go to a Rams game at the Coliseum, half the crowd is in the opposing team's jersey. So they trying to get some more Ram jersey in there.
Absolutely.
Kev,
I think it's like you said. It's just another ploy by the NFL to go out and attack those areas of the population that they've either shunned for so long or that people feel as though have been ignored. Just like with the domestic abuse, and when that was a big issue for the league, they went out and had this ad with the players caring about women, and it's just another ploy for them to be politically correct.
Is it the league? And I think that's what's interesting about this story. Is it though a league thing, or is this just team specific? The Rams and the Chargers doing good business.
It's a society thing. I think we're at a point in 2017 where the times have changed. People are moving forward, trying to be more progressive. I think it's smart that the LA teams would jump out in front of it. I'm surprised that the Bay Area teams wouldn't have done something like that. But even
just because they're in the Bay Area don't mean the owners are from the Bay Area,
right? But your segregated city that you were referring to last week, they even have taken steps. I mean, they even did the name is wild, but it's called the Gay Bowl. I'm not making this up. It's the first annual flag football like Super Bowl that they hosted.
Wow.
Sponsored.
I don't know if I'm ever going to play flag football again.
Thanksgiving.
We already talked to Frank. Shout out to Top Gun, Torrance.
All right, moving on. This week, Thad Matta, the illustrious coach at Ohio State, got his walking papers.
Funny. That's funny. That's funny.
First, who do y'all think are the leading candidates to replace him?
I see. Well, Tom Crean's available.
Exactly. Right.
He knows the conference. He knows the area, the region. He's been successful at 2 different places,
and he's available.
And he's also available.
Yeah. I think they've got a couple of coaches there in the state of Ohio that they should look at. Chris Mack, and then Mick Cronin, the coaches right now, respectively, at Xavier and Cincinnati. I think, this feels like that sort of situation. It was an odd time to fire Thad, though.
It really was.
He's been losing the recruitment.
Well, first of all, that's the next question is why did they really fire him?
Wisconsin is on the up and up. Michigan's on the up and up. Michigan State's always on the up and up.
The thing I heard was other teams are using his health against him in recruiting.
Exactly.
He hasn't had a 5-star player in recruitment since the Lakers point guard.
And college recruiting is a dirty game. So that's completely believable.
Yeah. What about Greg Marshall?
I think, his name is always
his
name's always going to be there, but honestly, right now that's a step down for him. I would consider that Ohio State job being a step down from where he is.
Well, he's making $3 million a year. If it's more than that, I don't know if it's a step down. I see what you're saying. Wichita State's program.
Yeah, that program is.
But their program is there because of what they moved up in competition, and he's gotten them there.
Kev?
his health and lack of recruiting is definitely a concern. But if you just look at results, they've been out of the top 25 the last 3 years, missed the NCAA tournament the last 2. College basketball is an impatient sport, man. If you're not getting it done, somebody else will.
I've even heard Mike's Brown name floated.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Gilbert Gump.
Ohio.
Wow.
Which, and like we said, since, he's having problem recruiting, that leads us to something we've talked about before, which is scouting, which leads us to the NBA Finals.
Very good segue.
That was Omar went to hosting school.
I asked this question: did Game 2 show you guys anything different that would give you some reason to believe Cleveland?
Yeah, they found their 5-man lineup for when Golden State goes to their death lineup. In the second quarter, it was Kevin Love at center with LeBron, Kyrie, it was Korver and Shumpert, and that's when they made their comeback and took the lead a little bit. So it's comforting to know that they found what I think is going to be their 5-man lineup to go against the death squad.
What the hell
when
are
they
you
go,
selling to, bro?
when they go, I'm serious. You saw the game.
Yes, I did.
That's when they made their run. They found, because before there was a question as to who's the 5 that they're going to go to when Golden State goes to their death lineup.
They could have 6, brother.
My problem is, what happened to LeBron going to the hole? Second half, it stopped.
Foreshadowing. Sir.
It's not, but it's not all. But it's not. But honestly, and this is my confirmation bias. It's not offense. They scored 113 points and they got blown out by 20.
Well,
they scored 113 points.
Here's the thing: Golden State turned the ball over 20 times and they still lost by over 20 points. So I don't care what 5. I mean, it did change some mind for me because I thought it was Golden State in 6. Now I have them in 5 because there are no more 3 games in a row to the road team. It's 2, 1,
right.
1.
So you think Cleveland does get a game?
Yeah, I think they get a game.
For the sake of being a basketball fan, I hope they get a couple games. But what I thought was interesting, and maybe it's a point to Omar's confirmation bias, is this series is a bunch of empty stats versus stats that don't have impacts. If, like you mentioned, Kevin Love, if you looked at the stat sheet in Game 1, he had 15 points and 21 rebounds. Like we talked about last week on the show, I think that would be enough to beat them. But man, those stats are front-running stats, if you ask me. They had no real impact on the game. Same thing with Kyrie. He's giving you 19, 20, 21, but all of those buckets are forced, and they have no real impact on the energy in the game and taking momentum away from Golden State.
It's defense. They're empty stats because they're not playing good defense. And I honestly am appalled. I am appalled at the lack of defensive strategy on Cleveland's part. Like, Tyronn Lue is lost. You cannot switch against this Golden State squad. You've got to man up. You have to man up.
They have like at least 2 starting defensive liabilities out there.
Right.
It don't matter. Defense is 90% effort. It's just effort. And they are not competing at all on the defensive end. And it really is appalling to see.
And Les and I had a conversation on Saturday. Somebody asked us a question about, the fact that there's 2 black coaches. And first thing Les said it first, though, was, Kerr gonna be back.
That's funny.
Yeah, come on now. He's like, I'm about to get this. And he was struggling. If you watch that game, he was struggling.
Oh, yeah.
Every time they showed
I feel really bad for him. I feel bad for him. That back injury stuff is real. Kev?
Well, offensively, you mentioned defense was a problem, but like Les said, let's not ignore the fact that LeBron only gets his buckets in transition when he goes to the hole. When they have to resort to a half-court offense and actually execute, he either settles for jumpers or he kicks it out to Kyrie for a forced jumper. For the life of me, for the long, illustrious career LeBron has had, I cannot understand why he won't post up, why they won't at least go to Kevin Love on a consistent basis in the post.
Well, and that's why I like the 5-man lineup that they went to in that second quarter, because oftentimes they caught Kevin Durant on a switch, and it was him going against Love, and Love, he couldn't do anything with Love.
And they stopped doing it.
Then they went away. Again, Ty Lue. They went away from that. So
some of it has to be the players on the floor, though.
Well, coach.
I blame them. I blame them for their defensive intensity, huh?
The coach went away from it.
LeBron.
Yes. I was not talking about Lou.